All right, so let's get started with our first project, which I'm calling Blog Ipsum, because it is blog posts using placeholder text, like the lorem ipsum placeholder text. The server that we're going to be using here is this JSON placeholder, and this has endpoints which simulate a blog server. You can get posts, you can get comments on the posts, and so forth. You can also make updates, but the updates don't actually make any changes to the data on the server. They will give you a response as though maybe there were changes, but the server data remains the same. So this app, this Blogum Ipsum, is going to focus on React query concepts, and the app itself is not going to be anything to write home about. The concepts that we'll learn are fetching data, the most basic thing that React query does, working with loading and error states so we can inform the user when we're loading data and when there's been an error. We're going to look at the React Query Dev tools, which are a great way to get some insight into what's going on with your queries. We're going to use pagination for the blog posts, so we'll see how we can work with that in React Query. We're also going to do some prefetching with the pagination. We'll prefetch the next page so that it's seamless. When the user clicks on the next page, they can get that data right away. And then we'll also look at mutations, or making changes to the data on the server. As I mentioned before, we won't be able to see the effect of the mutations on the server data, but we will be able to see the mechanics of how mutations work with React Query. So here's a brief demo of our not very impressive app. We have a list of blog post titles, which it's even hard to tell that these are blog post titles because it's just placeholder script. You can click on one, and that will give you the comments for this particular blog post. You can delete the blog post or update the title, and you can page through the blog posts. We also have the React Query Dev tools, which shows us about the queries that are in progress. So that's a preview of what we'll be building here. So I have some scaffolding code that you can install. In general, I have a lot of scaffolding code for this course. I don't want to make you type out or watch me type out any code that's not related to React Query. So the course repository contains a lot of code that will serve as a base for our React Query coding. I advise you to fork or clone the course repository. I strongly advise you to code along with the course. In addition to coding along with me, there will be exercises where you will get a chance to practice what you've learned. So, fork or clone the course repository. And for this section, we're going to be using our base Blogum directory, the base for the Blogum Ipsum project. And then just type npm install in order to install what we need for this project. So I'm going to go to where I have this. I'm already in the base Blogum, and I'll npm install. After this, we are going to want to get started with React Query. So here are the general steps for adding React Query to a project. First, we need to install the library. Then we're going to need to create a query client. So this is the client that manages our queries and also that cache of data from the server. We need to apply a query provider, which is going to provide the cache and any client configuration to the children components. And it takes the query client as a value to this provider. And then, if our goal is to get data from the server, we are going to run this use query hook, which is the hook that actually fetches data from the server. So let's go back to our command line here. And I can see that a bunch of my dependencies are already out of date from when I started this project just a couple weeks ago. So if I wanted to, I could fix that. But right now, I'm actually not that concerned with severity of vulnerabilities. And I'm going to just run npm install React query. All right, I'll see you in the next lecture where we will start to code React query.